Hello there and welcome to the first of many tutorial videos from the Strength Academy. The first one we've got for you is 10 tips on improving your kettlebell clean. Tip 1 is based on the pendulum action. The idea is unless you're training for maximal strength or explosive power and you're doing the Olympic lifting equivalent of a clean, straight from the floor, then you really want to keep the thing moving. If you're working intervals, high intensity training, raising metabolism or for fat loss, you're looking at keeping that bell swinging underneath into catch, underneath into catch, so the repetitions are continuous. The bell travels behind us, behind, rather than straight down and pulling up, straight down and pulling up. The reason being here is that it takes much more effort to move a weight that's stationary than it would to move a weight that's got potential energy. If we refer to the pendulum, if this hand is the fixed or neutral point, i.e. the centre of our mass, if that weight swings under and behind us, without us doing anything at all, it will swing forwards to almost exactly the same distance, meaning that by standing, the weight will travel to stomach height simply because of that extension action. By travelling behind and travelling forwards, we're allowing the body to be mechanically more efficient. We can get more work done. The exercise is much smoother and it's much more beneficial. Tip 2 considers the grip related to that eccentric phase. If we consider a farmer's walk, you would never rotate the hand away from you to grab a weight securely. A lot of people swing under with the thumb facing behind them, which is fine if you're using a light weight and you're not training for maximum reps. However, you're going to have a mechanical advantage by keeping the thumb forwards, so that on that forward swing we're here rather than here. The best thing for that is to experiment, because it's really only beneficial if you're using a heavy weight, you're looking for high repetitions, or more importantly if you're training with 2 kettlebells and using them for long cycle clean and jerk. For tip 3, we're looking at keeping the arm in contact with the torso on the eccentric swing and also on the concentric action, rather than allowing the arm to swing away from the body. So we're in a much stronger position when the arm is close to us. So instead of the weight swinging forwards, even after that negative phase, keep the arm in contact. This gives us a stronger position to be able to draw the weight in towards us. So if we look at the fixed path of a kettlebell swing, from that neutral position, the weight travels under, we stand tall into extension, and the weight is driven forwards to chest, possibly head height, through the simple act of us standing tall. The same is true of the clean. If we're simply flexed and extended, the fixed path will see the weight travel behind and then possibly travel through to about stomach height, unless we intervene and draw the weight in towards us. Tip 4 looks at how we draw the weight in towards the body. So we mentioned that fixed path where the kettlebell would just carry on moving forwards. The 2 options for drawing the weight in are to explosively produce force through the floor by triple extension, by plantar flexing and driving the balls of the feet into the floor. We can also actively engage the trap for a shrugging action. Depending on the weight, of course, and how many repetitions you're looking at doing. So with just the feet, you can see that snapping action. With the trap as well, it travels a bit higher now, so there's more force being created. Just the trap. So there's a good way of offsetting overall fatigue based on work capacity. If I'm constantly driving through the floor, there's going to be a little bit of fatigue associated with the posterior chain. If I'm constantly shrugging, there's going to be, at the end of several repetitions or sets, isolated fatigue in one trapezius. What you can do is offset the workload, maybe alternate between a hip drive, a shrug, and then a combination, or maybe work 5 to 10 reps using force through the floor, and 5 to 10 just isolating the trap, because when one's not being used, it's getting a passive recovery. Tip number 5 we'll call double suspension. The idea is that when the kettlebell is forcefully pulled in towards the body, the thing to avoid is it crashing us. Two ways it will crash us is by it being too far in front and us needing to pull it in towards the body. So if the swing leaves the body, like so, the only option I've got is to pull it in towards me. The other option is to catch it and resist that impact with the body. Which is great for teaching you how to brace if you're a martial artist. But if you've got a 50-kilo woman in the gym that's new to kettlebells, it's probably not going to see her return for the second session. So the double suspension allows the kettlebell to meet the forearm just before the forearm meets the body. So what we've got is we've got 2 stages of deceleration. We've got the invisible kettlebell at the moment. We've driven through and pulled. As we adjust the arm to meet the bell will make contact with the arm at a split second before the arm makes contact with the body and comes to rest. So rather than forcefully striking us, we can ease that impact with bell to forearm, forearm to body. 1, 2. 1, 2. So arm, chest, arm, chest, arm, chest, rather than catch at the same time and there's a pretty big impact into the body. Moving on from that double suspension, a key point and probably the #1 safety tip with the kettlebell clean is that the ball will never ever travel higher than the fist. If you're here, got big problems because it's you against gravity. Gravity is fixed and it will always win for a very good reason. If you're pulling 150%, 50% is wasted, 50% transfers into forceful impact on the forearm. The fist will always be the highest point because the bell rotates around the arm rather than flips over and crashes onto it. As opposed to, okay, I'm doing twice the work that I need to, it's going to fatigue me, and it's also not mechanically efficient. Okay, tip 7. If you are working for endurance or repetitions in time and you're not giving yourself the luxury of placing the weight on the floor, you really need to be offsetting the handle. So tip number 7 we'll call offset the handle. A traditional grip for a barbell or a dumbbell for curling or bench pressing, etc. would be a crush grip where the device is slap bang in the middle of the palm so that we can crush it. So it will sit at 90 degrees relative to the forearm. If you look at where that fixed point is, the wrist, the further I move from that fixed point and create a lever, the less force I need to move it into extension. at approximately 1 to 2 inches from it, with an offset load that is constantly making me resist extension by isometrically locking my arm in place, I'm burning out fast. I'm tensing the forearm, it's getting hot, the lactic's getting in there, and as soon as my grip's gone, my workout's finished. Until I turn this handle down into a much more mechanically stronger position. This means that I can hold this position and get an active recovery from my grip rather than holding tight, because all it wants to do is this. If I clean here, there's an inherent weakness at this position and it will fatigue rapidly. If I clean here, I'm tensing isometrically and I'm burning out. If I clean here, I can switch off the grip and I'm getting passive recovery for my next repetition. Okay, tip number 8 follows on from tip number 7. We're looking at mechanical efficiency with the clean. If you have cleaned and you're in this racked position with the handle offset, holding here, I've got anterior deltoid, pec, lat, all engaged to keep this where it is, because gravity wants to drop it down to the floor until my elbow finds my iliac crest, like so. Now I've created a platform. I've almost put this on a shelf. The weight goes through the arm to the hip and through the floor. This will last 10 times longer than this ever will. This is active isometric resistance. You eventually start to shake and it quits. Here, the complete load is going straight through the floor via the bones. So it's a much more efficient position to be in before either working into the jerk or releasing to go for another repetition. From here, you're looking at standing tall, thumb to sternum. You sink with the abs and glutes braced to protect the lower spine, and you allow the elbow to sit in to the hip. Tip number 9 we'll call the shoulder nudge. It's the way that we release the kettlebell so that we can perform consecutive repetitions. We mentioned at the start that we're not looking at training for explosive strength from the floor, so the movement arc will be like so, a pendulum action. If, from our clean position, we simply drop it, it isn't going to go under. We need to use the shoulder to produce a nudging action, like so, just a couple of inches, so that the weight leaves us and then begins a descent of circular action. So the key point there is, from that rack or relaxed position, we're going to nudge the bell slightly away from us so that it goes ahead and under rather than straight down via gravity. And tip number 10 relates directly to grip endurance with the clean. 2 exercises that see a lot of blisters and calluses are the snatch and the clean, due to the rotation of the bell when compared to, say, the 2-hand swing or the 1-hand swing, where there is no rotation. Now, the way to overcome this is, rather than let the bell brush across this area and screw the hand up into the calluses, you release it with a hook grip, almost a claw, so that it passes from palm to fingers. Palm to fingers. So from our racked position, as we nudge, it passes from here to here, where we catch it, rather than allowing it to scrape and brush across the palm. So we nudge and we catch in that hook position. Another key thing, stand yourselves up if you're not already. Place your palm in front and make a fist. Go. Strong as you can, so you're leaving fingerprints in the palm. Now, point your index finger forwards. Make a fist. Still pretty good, probably about 50% of what the normal crush grip was. Now, place your small pinky finger forwards and make a fist. Nothing. Probably about 90% has gone. Showing you how important this finger is for grip. So, the last thing we want to do is allow the weight to travel underneath us with this internally rotated grip that as it travels behind us we'll be pulling on these three fingers and trying to undo that grip action. So not only do we keep palm towards us, but more importantly we don't use that finger. We hook with these two and a thumb lock in the corner of the handle. So what's actually happening is we're moving from here, where we would strike through and up, so that this position becomes this, and as we release, we hook here, not here, which will open the weaker digits. So we're going to lock here, and as we nudge the bell away from us, we transfer to this action. Hooking in the corner of the bell with the thumb locked inside, and as you can see, these are not required. Now, even just using a few of those tips will give you a dramatic increase on the repetitions that you can get with a fixed weight, or being able to use a heavier weight with greater confidence. So I do hope you found some of those tips useful, and stay tuned for the next instalment. Please feel free to share to other people that may find it interesting, hit the like, etc. and subscribe. Until next time, take care. Thank you.